Hi, everyone. Welcome to Founder Made's Power Hour, Marketing to the Gen Z Consumer. I'm with Sadura Sarakonda, VP of Growth of Klarna, and we are going to be talking about how to market to the Gen Z consumer, which is a huge opportunity right now, especially when it comes to D2C and driving that sales for your products. So I know you guys have a ton of questions. We're with an expert, a VP of Growth. Sadura, tell us, first of all, I always like to know what everybody's background is, because I think that, especially when you're building your career, you really don't know where your career really takes you. And you have such a fascinating career of, startup to, this to now, working for one of the biggest, best, most high growth, fintech companies in the world that has crazy data. So Sadura, just give me a little bit about your background.
Yeah. Thank you, Megan, for those kind words. And before I begin here, thank you for having Klarna during today's Power Hour. And thanks everyone for giving us an hour of your Wednesday to have this conversation. So as Megan said, I'm currently VP of Growth at Klarna. For those of you that aren't familiar with Klarna, we are a global retail bank, a payment solution, and a shopping platform all in one. We have the aim of really helping consumers save time, save money, and have richer shopping experiences. Globally, we have over 147 million customers and over 400,000 retail partners. And that includes everyone from H&M, Sephora, Macy's, Nike. So really have visibility into not just what we're doing, but also what all of these global retailers are doing from a marketing perspective. A bit of background on me before Klarna. I had a previous life as a consultant that I won't get into, but I also am a former founder myself. I founded a company that sold products that were made by survivors of human trafficking, and we gave them 100% of the profits back to the women. We had a very niche and very dedicated audience or customer base, and it was actually quite easy to market to them because we knew exactly who they were, where we could reach them. But the challenge was that at the time, this was about 10 years ago now, our total addressable market was quite small. And then after that, I moved on to Jet.com. Jet is or was the Amazon for urban affluent millennials. Again, it was a very focused customer cohort. So we knew where they lived, how to reach them, which brands they loved. So from a marketing perspective, it was fairly easy to market to them and acquire them very effectively. Then Jet was acquired by Walmart. Everyone shops at Walmart. When I first started at Walmart, they told me that 98% of US households shopped at Walmart at least once a year, which is a crazy stat. And I didn't believe it at first. I live in New York. I can barely drive. I had no idea where my closest Walmart was. So I thought surely I had not shopped at Walmart in the last year, but I looked at my credit card statement. Sure enough, I had shopped there. Marketing at Walmart is challenging because you have to be everything for everyone, which is, if you're a brand that is just starting out and you know who your consumer base is and it's narrow, that's easy. But if you're a brand that's been around for a long time, it's challenging to market to all of these different consumer bases without alienating the other. So we did it because we had the tech to be able to personalize really effectively, and that made it easier. But that is something just to think about if you're a brand that's been around for a while and you're looking to get a new consumer base, a Gen Z consumer, you have to make sure that you're not alienating your older consumers. Now, after that, from Walmart, I was there for about 5 years, and then I came over to Klarna. Klarna has been all about Gen Z. 75% of our consumers are Gen Z and younger millennials. So I feel like in some ways I've transformed into Gen Z myself because I spend so much time consuming the same content that they do, as well as really learning about, what really gets them excited when it comes to brands, living their life, and so forth.
It's awesome. I mean, I think that when you look at the different types of companies out there, Klarna is speaking to they're very specific about the messaging. You guys are very, very specific about it. So within the last 2 years, what has been some of the most important lessons that you've learned about Gen Z? And you're saying 75% of your customers are Gen Z. What is that? I mean, you guys have a crazy amount of customers, so it's everywhere in the world, and 75% of them, it's crazy.
Yeah, 75% are Gen Z and generally younger millennial. But yeah, it's a 75% of 147 million. So it's a ton of consumers, which, allows us to get a lot of data around what works for them and what doesn't work for them.
So in the last 2 years, what do you think has been something that's really worked towards the Gen Z? And have you seen consumer behavior change, in the last 2 years and with the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this is something that has come up a few times in our discussions with merchants and internally as well. Gen Z tends to be values oriented. It started with millennials, and it has taken on a bigger life with Gen Z. There's greater transparency now than ever. So consumers know what they're getting, what the brand stands for, whether it's something that they personally feel aligned with. And I do think as we progress as humanity, each generation is getting a little bit better. So you're seeing Gen Z really demand more of brands and companies and really voting with their wallet and saying, you know what, like, I don't think what you're doing is right, so I'm going to stop buying from you, or I will really lean into this organization or this company or this brand because I love all of the sustainability work that they're doing and something that I believe in as well. And then the second trend that we're seeing is, people are just continuing to become more and more omni-channel. You're seeing things like live streaming really come to life, especially in the US in a big way. It's been a big trend in Asian markets for a while, but you're seeing that really convert over to the US. What we're seeing on our end is 78% of Gen Z that we surveyed said that social media is a huge discovery tool for them still. And that includes, platforms like TikTok, which are essentially short form live streaming videos, and also includes, your traditional Instagram, Facebook, and so forth. And then the last piece that we're really seeing is Gen Z consumers are shopping smarter. You can see that with just how big buy now, pay later is within the Gen Z consumer base. They want greater transparency around how they're paying for things and when they're paying for things. And buy now, pay later companies like ours can really provide that to them in the same way that credit cards traditionally have not been able to.
It's fascinating just to see the different trends and how you're seeing it across, all different platforms and all different types of companies. So in terms of, marketing to Gen Z, what are some of the particular projects that Klarna has done that has really marketed? And because I look at the brand and I can't believe that you guys are so good at marketing to a certain demographic and being like very clear on the thesis of what your customer is and who your customer is and who you're marketing to. So what have been some of the big, projects or things that you guys have thought about, and how did you even get there?
Yeah, I will let the projects speak to themselves because the videos we have will do greater justice. We are going to play a video we had a partnership with Bretman Rock, but a small personal anecdote. When Klarna first reached out to me, at the time when you Googled Klarna, I went to their Wikipedia, it said they were a Swedish bank. So for me, I was like, oh, I don't know if going to a Swedish bank is next career step for me. And then I watched this Bretman Rock video that had just been released at the time. And I was like, this is not just a Swedish bank, or Swedish banks are wildly different than American banks. But you'll see when we play the video, everything that Klarna really stands for from a marketing perspective and how we're really differentiated from other players out there.
I think we should play this Bretman Rock video just so that. And what year did you guys, or what year was that? That was just like
2020.
Okay, 2020. Okay, so we're gonna play that just so you guys can see, really an example of how to market to Gen Z, and we can talk about it after that.
Hey fish, it's me, Bremen Rock, the baddest fish in the sea. Today, I'm gonna be talking to you about Miss Klarna. Now, who's Miss Klarna, you ask? Wait, who is she again?
It's an app.
Oh, so Klarna is an app. It's K as in karma. You know the rest, Larna. Did you know Klarna is Swedish for fish? It's not. Just f that up. Klarna is Swedish for smoother shopping, according to Google. So bitch, what's the catch? Oh my god, sorry. It's my first day. As a mermaid of color, I experience high H2O exposure. Looking like the fresh catch of the day is not easy. Here are 3 easy tips for the marine-minded like me. Bring in the makeup! Ooh, I love this waterproof mascara. It's been sold out everywhere. I wonder if they have waterproof blush. Daddy, can you make that happen? Poseidon's my daddy. So yeah. Hello? No, this is Patrick. Can somebody grab me my kelp latte with 2 pumps of squid ink, hold the ice with a metal straw, please? Now, I understand that I'm just a figment of your imagination, and yes, I am fake. But Klarna is real. It's a necessity of life. Food, water, clothing, and Klarna, bitch. Clothing's optional. Sis, if you're not shopping online with Klarna, you must not have Wi-Fi, and I'm so sorry about that. You need to take your fin to the next aquarium with your broke mother fin, bitch. Don't use that, because people are gonna be like, are you calling me broke? I just did. But you know what? I was broke once. You just need to step your fin game up. Delicious. Actually really gross.
Gonna spit it out?
Yeah. Convenient, responsible shopping. Hello. Oh my gosh, the miracle of mascara. Yes, I'm a real mermaid. Listen, whether you're a merman, mermaid, or merday, just keep shopping with Klarna, bitch. Let's talk about the one-time card and why I use it. The one-time card is like an ex-boyfriend. You use it to get what you want and you bounce. There's no contract, no interest, and no strings attached. Mermaid now, pay later. Don't spend money you don't have, sis.
Tell me about that wig.
Wig? What are you, wig, girl? It's my hair cause I bought it, so it's my hair. Okay, sis, I gotta go, but I'm keeping this lipstick cause Ariel could never. But I'm coming for Prince Eric. You better get your man tied up. I'm Bremen Rock, and this mermaid moment was brought to you by my shopping rock, Miss Klarna. Cut. I'm kidding. Girl, I'm over this. I really need help. Can somebody help me? Can you please kelp me? Kelp.
Megan, you are muted.
That is awesome. What a video. I don't even know where to start with this. So I think you're going to have to deconstruct and kind of tell us how this, and because it's such a moment in time and it speaks to such a specific generation. So I mean, just walk me through kind of how you guys, Klarna, and how they even came up with this and thought about this, and you know how this speaks, like the different pieces that a brand can take from this video and take it to them to their for marketing.
Yeah. I mean, first I'll say that this, like I said, the videos I can't do justice to the videos. You have to watch them yourself to really understand the Klarna brand. This video was actually watched 3 times on average. So people were just watching it over and over again because it's so funny. Every time you watch it, you'll find new moments in there that are really funny. And that's the Klarna brand. It's really, it's a young brand, and we are really out there with our marketing, and we're really authentic about it as well. So as you see in the video, we kept cuts in there with the producer talking to Bremen Rock instead of, making it super edited. So that is really what the Klarna brand is about. It's about being authentic. It's about being funny. It's about being out there. And keep in mind, at the time, 2020, we were a payment solution. So imagine like your Chase, credit card creating a video like this. It would never happen. So I think that is why Gen Z is just so attracted to the Klarna brand and using Klarna as their payment solution and where they shop versus, some of the other brands out there.
I mean, great marketing to, not only just your clients, but also to people that want to work for I mean, it's,
yeah.
who doesn't want to be a part of something that is like that? I mean, it's an incredible movement. So, and then the next, one that we're going to show, the next video we're going to show is ASAP Rocky campaign, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything we should look out for, or should we just play the video?
Let's play the video and then we can go over it after.
Okay, great.
This morning, New York City is now reopening, ending one of the longest lockdowns in the country.
Yo, Rocky! It's been a little minute.
I just been cooling at the crib, hibernating.
I can tell.
Hey, you Rocky! They might not let you in dressed like that. My blood fill my cup, beat my hold my load.
Now that's pretty flatter.
They don't know nothing, roll my blood, eat my they don't know nothing, roll my blood, fill my cup. They don't know.
All right, so that is a very short clip of a very long ASAP Rocky campaign that we did. We just did that campaign last year when COVID regulations were starting to ease and people were starting to come out of lockdown. And ASAP Rocky was actually CEO for a day at Klarna. And it was just this massive fun campaign that we did that was extremely relevant to the time. ASAP Rocky is obviously big. And also that combined with what was happening culturally was a big part of why this campaign came to life and why it was so successful.
It's brilliant. And in terms of just hitting a sign of the time with an influencer that, spoke to people and just making things fun when things were not fun, is really, I think and I think that's part of also taking that piece for marketing to Gen Z is taking something that maybe a hardship or something that, we've gone through and kind of repurposing it and making it, something that's more digestible, more fun, and obviously more creative. So that is a great one. I really, and then the next one that we're going to look at, the next video is Heartbeats for Sneakers. So we're going to play that. It's great.
Que festa e camo, que na camo, que na camo.
Okay, so this one requires a little bit of explanation. We are really good at targeting small, loyal, very involved communities. And this campaign we did specifically for the sneakerheads community. And, as I'm sure you guys know, bots are a really big problem when these big sneaker drops happen. So we did a campaign where we essentially said you had to, it required you to have a heartbeat for you to actually get a sneaker. And we did that via some tech. And we also, as part of that, raffled 5 of the most iconic sneakers away. And to this day, this campaign happened, almost 2 years ago now, but to this day, any sneaker merchant that we work with does incredibly well with Klarna because of this campaign. People still buy Klarna in the sneakerhead community, or buy with Klarna in the sneakerhead community. They know what Klarna is. It's just a big topic of conversation because of this one campaign that we did a while back. I think that's also something that's important to remember. It's, you have to know who your community is and be deeply embedded in that community and speak their language and really market to them in an effective way. And that really, pays dividends for us even years later.
I love that. And I mean, in the sneaker, it's interesting because you guys go from the sneakerhead community, but then you also are doing stuff with beauty in a very interesting way. Like I remember us talking about Beauty Counter and what you're doing with Beauty Counter. Can you tell a little bit, especially because there's a ton of beauty founders on this? So I would just love to hear how from sneakers to beauty, how you guys are marketing to Gen Z.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a huge marketing team, so we have the benefit of being able to create these hyper targeted marketing campaigns for different communities. So what we did with Beauty Counter is we had a series of 4 different live streaming campaigns that ran, and Beauty Counter actually at the time saw, as the campaigns were running, a 2 to 3x increase in their sales during that time, during each of the campaigns that we were running. Again, it goes back to the power of live streaming and how that can really increase sales for you, as well as what can happen if you really plan ahead, partner with a great partner, and bring some of these things to life in a big and interesting way.
I'm getting some really great questions from our audience. And guys, you can put in your questions. There's no wrong questions right now. You're with experts in growth. I mean, you're literally with the best in knowing about growth marketing and marketing to this very specific demographic. What is the marketing funnel for Gen Z? Like, how is it different from other consumer segments? I mean, obviously there's, Gen X and all the different, but what is that marketing funnel? What are we looking at it more in like a quick content? What are the things that, people can think of as they're thinking about the marketing funnel?
Yeah, I mean, for discovery, social still reigns supreme, similar to millennials. I'd say even more so, but the shift is millennials tend to discover on Instagram, whereas Gen Z tends to discover on TikTok. So that's the shift that we're currently going through. And I'm sure in 5 years, there will be another platform that we will be talking about where the shift is happening. But aside from that, everything else is the same, right? So you bring in your consumer through discovery, and then they're still going through the same process of consideration and then ultimately making a purchase. But as brands think about where do I want to put my marketing dollars, as far as brand awareness goes or performance marketing, I would say, for us, TikTok is a big channel that we're leaning into.
That's awesome. And are you seeing from all different areas in beauty, like sneakers, everything and anything? It doesn't matter what kind of product you have, it's TikTok problem solution. Somebody had said at one of our virtual shows, they loved marketing a problem and a solution with TikTok. And that was how they were getting their beauty brand. Like, I have a zit. And they would just sell these, zit packs or, zit solutions of their beauty product over and over and over again, just because they were doing these interesting, really, really, and they say, oh, it took me like 30 seconds to film this. And I got, $1 million worth of sales just off of this TikTok, which I'm like, that seems amazing. That's a very different way of marketing compared to our parents or compared to, any previous generations.
No, and that's exactly right. I think, it's really an informational platform. It has evolved from being a platform that, people did dance videos on, and it was this fun platform, but now it's really a lot about educational content on whatever it is that your problem is. I watch everything from food recipe videos to how to use a Dyson Airwrap on there. And it's really the spectrum of whatever you may want, you can find on there. I don't want to discount Facebook and Instagram, though. I do think those are still platforms that are used and obviously have a lot of functionality that they have built years and years as far as really refining who your audience is and how to reach them in a cost-effective manner.
No, that totally. And I think that there is different segments that you market to on those different platforms. It's really, exactly. Really important. And then what are Klarna's marketing priorities for 2022 to engage with the younger consumer in the US and then also just even abroad? And what innovations are you guys working on?
Yeah, we are constantly building new functionality from a discovery perspective within our app. So if you go to the Klarna app today, you'll see just a ton of brands being featured on there, but you'll also see new functionality like being able to track your purchases in one place, being able to add products to a wish list, and then being able to see when the price drops on your wish list. So that wish list functionality is just a different way of marketing to a consumer, right? It provides utility. It's not just you saying, hey, buy this product. You're saying, I'm giving you this benefit of adding it to the wish list. And then we're telling you when it's the cheapest time to buy this product. And then we are deep into live streaming. We acquired a company called Hero, which is a virtual streaming platform. So they do, one-to-one, which is basically if you go to a Credo Beauty, you want to talk to someone that is in the store and an expert about what type of moisturizer is right for your screen. You can actually connect with someone directly in store using the Hero functionality. We are also building live streaming along with that. So that's something that we plan to lean into in a big way. And then we're also exploring VR, AR as marketing activations for us. So that's something that we'll be launching in a physical environment later this year.
I want to go back to all these different innovations because I think that there's so much to unpack with just each one. I think it's super authentic that you guys are doing wish lists instead of you being marketed. And again, I know, certain apps will listen to your conversation, then I get plugged of, oh, this is, for me right now, it's a stroller or whatever it is, right? Or we'll be talking about some type of brand and but I love the fact that it's pushed from the customer, and you're actually just doing a wish list across all sites. It's very authentic. You're not getting pinged, and you're not, and so that to me, I'm sure you're going to get so much data even from that as well, which is going to be another piece of like who's saving what and how they're saving it, and when do they actually do the purchasing on it, and then what percentage of price drop do you need to do in order for the consumer to actually do the purchase. I mean, there's just so much there just from that technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are able to get a lot of data, and honestly, the way we use it is to help personalize the experience for the customer. So if we know that you're only wish listing sneakers, right, we will send you marketing around sneakers instead of sending you all sorts of other marketing that's not relevant to you. And we're also able to see different things like, what is the price point that you normally buy and things like that. So we're able to be really hyper targeted, and also just making sure that the consumer is getting content that they want, and not just being constantly flooded with content that just annoys them.
That's awesome. I think that's going to be, a huge opportunity. And just super authentic. And then with the live streaming, this is basically like live QVC, but in short snippets, right? Is that how I should be thinking about it? And where would be the places that we could see Hero and the integration, Hero and Klarna and how they're doing at Credo? You mentioned Credo Beauty, but there, name a couple of places just so we can see some examples.
Yeah, Credo Beauty is a big one. And then I know we're in several luxury merchants as well with Hero, but we can certainly add some names in the chat here because they're escaping me at the moment. But soon you'll also be able to, use live streaming within the Klarna app. So there's just a lot happening in that space.
And that will be a tool that anybody that's working with Klarna, so any retailer or brand that's working with Klarna will be able to live stream and kind of push out information, push out a sales, another kind of marketing tool for their audience.
Yeah, exactly. we would work with the team to make sure that the live stream comes to, it's a big production to put a live stream together. So we would partner with merchants, but we've already done, a few of these. We did one with Beauty Counter, and then we did one with Macy's as well. So this is something that we have been doing for some time now, and it's something that we really believe in. And like you said, Megan, yes, to shorten what live streaming is, that's exactly what it is. It is a more modern, more fun QVC.
I wrote my business school application paper on the next generation QVC. And now looking back after so many years, I'm like, this is TikTok, the Hero, like all this is actually coming to fruition. It just was so predates, but this is the interesting thing about marketing to Gen Z. And I think there's, in talking about marketing to Gen Z, what do you think the difference between the marketing Gen Z buying habits versus, and I know we talked about social and different things, but really like the millennial, are there differences on how they purchase? Or they even like the time frame that they're purchasing, or anything that, you see, you're seeing data around?
Gen Z and millennials are quite similar, which is why we like to bucket them together. There are some subtle differences in where they discover, and also there are differences in price points, right? Because millennials now have much higher disposable income than Gen Z has now. But I think, beyond that, from a values perspective, everything that you saw as a trend within the millennial generation is an even bigger trend with Gen Z, which makes sense. We're not that far apart in age, and really all of us came up during the internet age. So there are a lot of similarities because of that.
No, that's great. That's great. Another question that came in is, what is your vision, values, ethos, and purpose as a brand besides being entertaining on TikTok and Gen Z? Like, how do you know how to give it back? Or what the give back aspect of Klarna? Because there is something about the Klarna brand that you still, even though it's funny and there's a lot of, it's very entertaining, there does feel like there's actually like the give back aspect as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So this, this conversation is obviously about marketing. So we kept it to, the fun things that we're doing from a marketing perspective. But beyond that, we have a massive sustainability program. So if you go into the Klarna app, you can actually see what the carbon footprint of each of your purchase is. So you can use that to really guide your decisions around what you're buying. We also donate quite a bit. We're part of the 1% Give Back to the Planet program. So we do that. It's a big part of what we talk about and care about. And then, beyond that, there's also financial inclusivity. It's something that is a big part of why Klarna exists in the first place. Yes, there are Gen Z customers that really prefer Klarna over traditional credit, but there are also a lot of people out there who don't have access to credit for whatever the reason may be, or have been burned by credit cards in the past because of high interest rates and because they're living paycheck to paycheck, and that 1 month they simply couldn't afford to get the drugs that they needed or the groceries that they needed or the whatever they needed for their home. And that is honestly where Klarna comes in. We're able to give access to credit in a very transparent way that doesn't accrue high interest like some of the other products out there do. And that's a big part of why Klarna has been so successful in Europe and why we think we'll be successful here. So there's this aspect of like, we're fun, we're an amazing company for Gen Z. That's where you discover, you would discover in the Klarna app, and it's a payment solution, all these other things. But there's also an aspect of it where people need Klarna for the things that they need to buy for their life. And we're able to provide access to credit in a way that other players can't.
It's incredible in terms of how your global reach, and it is necessary. I think it kind of goes back to your mission for your first startup, which is, I think that's the mission driven is really hits a chord. And so, and you think about, we're so lucky, being in the country that we are in, and especially with what's happening right now, and access to credit is a huge problem across the globe. So
absolutely.
Kudos. And then another question that came in was, do you have some brand incubator or mechanism to test out the smaller brands? Like what, I think there's a ton of brands that want to work with you. What is the stage of brand that you guys work with?
We work with brands of all sizes. If you have 100 million customers, if you have 10 customers, it's really, really easy, especially for small businesses, to just add Klarna onto their platform. So if you go to Klarna.com, you'll see a Klarna for Business page on there, and that will guide you through a process that is literally 10 minutes long. So you just fill everything in there, and then you just get materials around how to add Klarna. All in, if you're on one of the big platforms like Shopify or WooCommerce, it should really only take you maybe 30 minutes to add Klarna.
That's amazing. So now going back to Gen Z marketing, talking about different brands, and before we were talking about, okay, what are these other brands that have really situated and done a great job? And you mentioned Abercrombie and Sure, you mentioned that as like one of the brands that you think is doing an incredible job, and I was like, wait, I remember that because that was one of my favorites when I was growing up, and it's back. I think there's some stuff to unpack with what types of brands, are really doing a great job marketing to the Gen Z.
Yeah, I think, there's a cohort of brands whose DNA is Gen Z, and by that I mean they were really created over the last few years, so they know who the audience is. They're just very in tune with how to market to Gen Z. And then you have brands like Abercrombie and Fitch that was really big 20 some years ago, and then went through a downturn because they just culturally were not relevant, and just said and did a lot of things that didn't fit well with millennials and with Gen Z, right? So I think what's fascinating about Abercrombie and Fitch is their ability to really reinvent themselves and become a Gen Z darling after almost coming back from the dead. And the reason for that is really they were extremely authentic and said, we know we messed up. The Abercrombie today is not the Abercrombie that you knew 20 years ago, and really just leaned into inclusivity in a big way. Of course, they also changed their product and their designs, and their designers should be getting some sort of award. But I think beyond that, just being really authentic and owning up to it and saying, we know that that's not the organization we want to be anymore. This is the organization that we are today. I think that is tough for a lot of organizations to recognize and then to put that out there in a big way. And Abercrombie has done that. And there's actually a great article about Fran Horowitz, who's their CEO in Fortune, that talks about how she made that change happen. And it's for brands that have been around for a while, it's a really, really great case study in how you can change and really have your organization grow again and grow with a new cohort of customers than you had previously.
And I think that's really interesting in terms of now how, I mean, we've seen such a shift with how Gen Z, how to market to Gen Z, how their purchasing behavior. But again, this is just V1 of Gen Z's purchasing behavior. Like we're just in the beginning stages, getting all this data, seeing these new platforms. TikTok's not that old. So just the shift of knowing that, but now having the data also to be able to understand and learn from, you know, the past, you do have to shift your business. And it's incredible that Abercrombie's, you know, stood the test of time so far. So, you know, the other question that just came up is, besides fashion and beauty, what other industries have seen success using Klarna?
Oh my gosh, we really play in a ton of industries. So if you in Europe were at restaurants, I mean, like anything that you can think of where you need to pay for products, we're there. We are actually available at Chevron in the US. So if you want to pay for your gas, you have that. We're launching in a lot of other categories as well. I mean, it's a great question because we have traditionally been really big in beauty, fashion, like what you think of when you think about traditional retail. But our ambition is to expand to all categories because Gen Z isn't just shopping beauty and fashion, they're shopping everything for their lives, right? So we want to make sure that we are where the consumer wants us to be. And we've done a ton of consumer surveys internally, and we know that they want us to be available everywhere that they need to pay for things.
I love it. And we're going to go back to some of the marketing and the TikTok questions, because I think that there's an interesting, and I think a lot of people have questions on like, well, wait, okay, I don't have TikTok. I don't even know, you know, but I have a product company. What would you suggest, you know, a brand do to really, you know, get noticed on TikTok? Or what are the things that you've seen that are key pieces that really help market to that Gen Z that's gonna, you know, that's in your purchasing funnel?
Yeah, you know, I think for small businesses, what has been really effective is just talking about the journey of starting and running their business. I've seen that just really, people love that content because they want to root for you. If you're a small business owner that's just trying to get your business off the ground and trying to make it happen, not only will they buy your product to support you, but they will also just give you feedback, real-time feedback around, love this, don't love it. They're very honest on TikTok. So you will get all the feedback that you need real time. And then as far as, and I know, you know, TikTok is a tougher place to be than Instagram, because on Instagram, you can just, you know, post an image of something and you're good to go. Whereas TikTok, you have to engage, you have to put your face out there. You really have to engage and show yourself and show your brand, the folks that work at your company. And then the other thing, if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, you know, working with some of the smaller micro influencers on TikTok, it is much easier to go viral on TikTok than it is on other platforms. So, you know, you don't have to pay a ton, but work with some of these influencers that are just starting out on TikTok. Or if you have, you know, something that is a great cause that your business stands behind, or a value that you think this community would really be really in tune to, then reach out to them and see if they're willing to post about your product just because they love it. I think there are a lot of different ways for you to really engage with TikTok, and it's you know, a platform that's worked well for so many companies.
And what do you think about influencer marketing and where that's going and how that works? Like if they had a choice of, you know, putting your founder story out there or doing influencer marketing, I mean, does it depend on the product? What's your stance, and what have you guys seen, you know, from an influencer perspective of how, you know, they're marketing to Gen Z and driving sales?
Yeah, it's funny when I used to do conferences along like years and years ago, the conversation would always be, are influencers just a trend and are they going to go away? And now it's been years and it's the community of influencers and the influence of influencers is just getting bigger and bigger every single year. And I think it will continue that way. And I think it really comes down to one, all of us have so much more access and easy access than we used to, right? So the influencers that I follow, they have the same values as me. They maybe look like me. They have the same taste as I do. Whereas if it's traditional marketing, you have to just advertise to everyone in the same way. Whereas if it's influencer, you can be super targeted. And then me as a consumer, I'm just getting better recommendations because I'm following someone who I know has the same taste as I do, or the same body shape, or whatever it might be. And I think that is really powerful. And because of that, I just think it will just continue to grow and not go away anytime soon.
It's basically like who's your customer profile, and
Yeah.
the influencer is kind of fitting that customer profile of, okay, this is what it is. I mean, you remember when you would do brand decks and you would say, okay, these are the different types of customers we're trying to get to. Well,
Yeah.
you take that, use that as like the different influencers that you want to hit. And
Exactly.
it's like a very interesting way of marketing and thinking about how to even work with influencers and market to them. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically just personalized marketing, right? So you have the ability to do that now in a very, very fragmented way. You can hire 100 influencers that all have a different customer segment associated with them. And I think that's something that previously you couldn't do, but you can do it now in a very cost-effective way.
Awesome. And then let's go back to Indochino. Tell me about that case study and how you were, you grew the millennial reach.
Yeah, they came to us because, so Indochino, for everyone, is a brand that makes suits. And their goal was they wanted for Gen Z, the first suit that they purchased to be with Indochino. So we worked with them to really create these marketing campaigns to drive our customer to Indochino. Actually ended up going phenomenally well. They were really leaned in. They gave us access to all of their CRM channels and we pushed them out through our CRM channels. And end result is they saw a pretty significant spike in sales. And I think 67% of those consumers were Gen Z consumers. So it's, it was a different consumer demographic than they were previously getting, and one that they thought was the right fit for their brand.
It's awesome. I think that, and I'm sure there's a ton of different brands that that are working with Klarna that all want to basically be like, can I work with you on how we market to this, this demographic? I mean, it's such a huge opportunity. So, and then in terms of, the other big lessons that you've learned in the last 2 years, for marketing Gen Z and where you think it's going, you're saying social, you're saying, but is there anything else that you would leave? Like what's a good, last, just last advice that you could give, our community in terms of, how they should be really thinking about marketing to the Gen Z community?
Yeah, I mean, I think, being authentic is the most important thing. I'm sure you have all heard this at other conferences as well, but it's honestly, we have more transparency today than we have ever had in the history of time. So I think it's very easy. Gen Z is smart and it's very easy to see through things when you are not being transparent and authentic as a company. So, and that continues to be a very, very important thing in why Gen Z supports you or not as a brand. And I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's great that we have a generation that is really values driven and really votes with their wallet and says, I believe in you, so I'm going to support your business and I'm going to put my money behind that business, and saying, I want you to behave in a different way, so I'm not going to do that. And I think it's just something to continue to remind ourselves as businesses.
No, I think that the overall mission, and I think this after what we've been through in the last couple of years, having something that's very mission driven, very authentic, being super transparent about where you're at with your business and how you're trying to do right to your customers is going to be the difference between the winners and the ones that aren't gonna succeed as well. So I mean, it's so huge. In terms of just, I know that you guys are scaling super fast. Do you guys have an idea of where you're going to be next year? Or is Is it just like get on a rocket ship and market to Gen Z, and Gen Z is like their, the purchasing behavior is like, wildfire, and we're just going to keep going? I mean, what are some of the main, key initiatives that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's really our ethos is around how do we create the best customer experience and the best merchant experience possible. And we have so many things in the works to really transform what that experience is, both in the digital environment and in the physical environment. So when you shop in the store using Klarna, that experience will evolve a lot as well over the next year. I think generally, I will continue to grow, and we will continue to grow beyond just Gen Z. So Gen Z is our core customer base right now, but we also want more millennials to shop with us. We want Gen X to shop with us. So I think you'll see that evolution, and we've seen that evolution in Europe over time, where a larger and larger percentage of the consumer base in those countries just starts to use Klarna. So I think you'll see that. Klarna is already starting to become a household name. So I think you'll see much more of that going forward. And then from a marketing perspective, we have a lot of other big campaigns coming up, celebrity partnerships that we're doing. We just announced our partnership with the Chicago Bulls that is live today. So, we want to innovate from a marketing perspective. We want to do exciting things. We want to do buzzworthy things. It's really just, about giving the consumer something that's more than just payments, more than just shopping. It's to, also entertain them in that journey for them, and to, make them laugh and make them have fun. That's really what Klarna is all about.
And to shift the credit, I think the idea of credit when I was growing up, and I remember there'd be like the booths in college and they'd be like, here's your first credit card. This is such a different way of marketing, and it's such a much nicer, clearer way of marketing and shifting that consumer behavior into credit. So I think it's really the education that you guys are providing, the transparency. It's just, it all is a win-win. It's definitely speaking to the Gen Z generation. I want to just get through a couple more questions that just came up. Matt Dean, he wrote, what percentage of Klarna sales go through the app or through online orders versus in-store purchases? So in-store purchases versus app, is it all over the place? I'm sure the retailers, having retailers a completely different percentage, but and then he had some, what challenges do you see with getting customers to use the service, or retailers adopt the technology service?
Got it. Okay, so let's take that piecemeal. The first piece, I'm not sure I can share publicly, but I won't share the exact percentages, but we have really 3 ways that consumers shop with us. It's, if you go to Macy's.com or Sephora.com, you'll see Klarna there, and you can check out using Klarna. You can then use the Klarna app to make a purchase at any retailer, not just the ones we're partnered with. And it's a one-time card. You just use the Klarna app to shop there. And then the third way is shopping in store. So you can use that same one-time card that you are shopping for within our app and use it to pay in stores as well. So those are the 3 revenue streams. All are very big. I can't share the exact percentages. And then the next piece of the question, let me actually take a peek here so I can see what it is. What challenges do you see in getting consumers to use the service in store? As far as in store goes, we're asking the consumer to behave in a very different way than they're behaving today. They take a credit card out of their wallet and they swipe that card, and that's how you pay. We're instead asking them to use the Klarna app, have either a QR or a virtual card in there, and then tap that at terminal. We have seen a huge influx of customers that are now using contactless because of COVID. And that has really, helped in the acceleration of that technology. But it is, it requires consumer education and just changing your mindset from saying, okay, I have this credit card that I carry around everywhere and then I have to use. And, a good way to think about it is when I applied for my credit card, like Megan was saying, I applied online, I was approved. It arrived via snail mail 5 to 7 business days later, and now I have to carry this thing everywhere with me, which, thinking back, looks like a kind of a crazy thing given the technology that we have today. Whereas instead with Klarna, you just download the app, There's no application process. You're approved based on the things that we know about you immediately. It's real time, and then you just tap and go. You don't have to carry anything with you. And that is a very, very simple compared to the old way of paying, but that takes some time getting used to, learning about, really understanding. So that's the journey that we're on today. But I think next year, this time we'll be in a very different place.
Completely agree. I years back before Square was, or before, I remember literally somebody saying, because I was in tech, and we were testing out, okay, would anybody use a credit card, just swipe a credit card or do anything? And people be like, no, that is janky. And that was 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago that people were like, we are not using our phone and credit cards. That makes no sense whatsoever. So
Yeah.
this is, I think you're right. In a year, this is going to be a whole different thing. And also as a younger generation is probably educating an older generation to kind of get rid of those credit cards and just download an app and make it a lot easier. I think it's going to be a huge opportunity. But I love the changing consumer behavior and the thought process of how you do that and where you target. And I think it's really smart that you guys are targeting that Gen Z market to change consumer behavior and to get people active, because that's going to be the place that years later it's all funneling to the older generation, the younger generation. Yeah. And it's a great sweet spot. So marketing to Gen Z, huge opportunity. I mean, it's really incredible what you guys are doing at Klarna, and thank you so much. We love being a partner with you guys, and for all of those brands, anything that you guys need to understand more, we have a great resource with our partnership with Klarna. I mean, Sadura, what else I think these are some great tips on how we can drive and how brands can really drive Gen Z sales and marketing. So it's great.
Yeah, of course. I think we covered a lot of ground here, but if there are any other, further questions or anything anyone on this Zoom today wants to chat about, please feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to chat and happy to help.
I love it. And we're going to have to show, the videos, I think we need to show those at our shows, live in person now. We're Founder Made is doing their live shows, June 24th, and which is Discovery Show East, and in September now. September 28th is our Discovery Show West, which is in Santa Monica at Barker Hangar. We have executive summits, and we're doing also, Build Your Business series with Cart.com, which is an 8-part series, talking about how you can build your business online. Please, guys, if there are entrepreneurs that are really looking to drive, D2C sales, we are your resource. This is what we grew this business through the pandemic, because we wanted to really educate and service the next generation of, high growth D2C founders, executives, and people that really have the mission that they need, to scale their companies. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Sadura and Klarna. I mean, stay connected with Klarna. You have the link. I mean, it takes 5 minutes or a series of business questions to get on. And with that, you guys are, as a business, you'll have massive resources. And then also as a consumer, I mean, I feel like it's like credit cards are dead and Klarna is here. Is that what I'm supposed to, am I not supposed to say that? Probably not. It seems like it's like future versus past. It's very interesting as I think about my college experience, getting credit cards and all the things. So anyways, wonderful, guys. Have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for attending Founder Made's Klarna Power Hour.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye.